Welcome to the first dual language video on this channel, so you can also watch this video with Dutch audio. We're taking a look at Dragon's Dogma 2 to see if we can put together some optimized settings so you can play this game in 4K at least 60 FPS. Welcome to HEnKisGaming, guess who I am, and let's travel to the city of Vermont for some optimized settings. There's also a video where we dive deeper into all the settings and what they actually do, but for this video it's purely about the optimized settings. And let's jump right into it, because you didn't come here to listen to me ramble forever. And in the meantime, this is some improvised benchmark I came up with. But hey, if we don't want to rely on improvised benchmarks, how can we get optimized settings these days? Well, that's super easy now, just ask NVIDIA G-Assist. Which is incredibly slow, by the way, but sure, eventually it gives you something, or well, not really, model load error. Would I like to ask again? I'm not that difficult, so sure. Sorry, I missed that? How the hell can you miss that, man? It's right there, noted at all. Anyway, G-Assist isn't quite ready yet. Guess we'll have to figure it out ourselves, almost as easy. Well, okay, not quite, but you get the idea. So, back to my improvised performance benchmark at the start of this video. I ran that with 4 different setting presets. Yes sir, pulling out all the stops here, nothing is too much for you guys. Prioritize performance, doesn't look that pretty, but a solid performance, 92 FPS average. Prioritize graphics, honestly it still looks a bit crappy, but it's better than prioritized performance. 67% FPS on average, which is above the 60 FPS target, so in that sense it's fine. But my optimized settings in 4K slightly better even, 70 FPS on average, and in my opinion it looks way better than prioritized graphics. And it can get even better if you don't necessarily need to game in 4K. At 1440p I'm hitting 76 FPS on average. Honestly, I think this setup looks best overall. Although it's a little bit less sharp, obviously, I even bumped up a few other settings here. The 1% lows, around 34 FPS across all tests. That's pretty low, but honestly, during my benchmarking I didn't really notice it. But keep in mind that, especially in the cities, Dragon's Dogma 2 can be pretty CPU bound. It's improved a bit since launch, but still, graphic settings alone won't probably save you here. Now, if you do want to stick with prioritized graphics for some reason, I noticed that when you select prioritized graphics, the image looks a bit grainy. If you tweak any settings and switch them back, putting you on custom, it actually looks a bit better. Then again, maybe I also restarted the game and that made the difference. My tip, after changing your graphics setting, just restart Dragon's Dogma 2 to be safe. Alright, let's quickly move on to the actual setting list, and I'll also put them in the description below so you can easily check them later. And maybe NVIDIA can scrape my YouTube description and feed it to G-Assist. Maybe it'll learn a thing or two. Start by setting your graphics quality to prioritize graphics, and then we'll go from there. Display mode full screen. Screen resolution 4K, although they describe it here as 3840 by 2160. We'll come back to the 1440p option in a moment. And just so you know, 1440p is not 2K. I almost written 2K in my script. Well, that would have been a major blunder for HEnKisGaming, right? Refresh rate, at least 60 Hz I would say. Now, if your TV supports it, 50 Hz can be a good option as well, especially if you can't maintain a steady 60 FPS. Frame rate variable, vertical synchronization or VSync on. And of course, if you have a screen that supports a variable refresh rate, like FreeSync or G-Sync, you probably already have VSync enabled somewhere on your PC's global settings, and then you'll want to turn it off here. I only recently got a VRR capable screen myself, and I must say, it's pretty awesome. Fidelity FX Super Resolution 3 or FSR. Set it to performance if you don't have an NVIDIA GPU. If you do have an NVIDIA GPU, set the DLSS Super Resolution to performance. DLSS frame generation. The benchmarks at the start of this video were done without frame gen enabled. I'll look into frame gen in the next video, but spoiler alert, it's probably fine to turn on frame generation for Dragon's Dogma 2. DLSS NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency, turn it on. It's automatically enabled if you are using FrameGen. Upscale sharpness, leave it as is. Ray tracing, turn it off. Ambient occlusion, set it to SDFAO, signed distant field ambient occlusion. So that's something with ambient occlusion also further away, I guess. Screen space reflections off. Mesh quality high, the higher the less pop-in, and pop-in drives me crazy. Texture filtering high, anisotropic ×4. Texture quality high 2 GB. Grass tree quality low. Resource intense effects quality high. Shadow quality high. If you have the performance headroom, push it to max. Shadow cache on. Contact shadows on. Motion blur on. Bloom on. Now if you need extra performance and these settings aren't enough, consider turning bloom off. Depth of field on. Lens flare on. Now it's becoming a bit of a on party, right? Lens distortion on plus chromatic aberration. Subsurface scattering off. Finally, something we turn off. And then motion quality high. As always, your mileage may vary depending on your system specs. If you've got the power, make sure to crank everything up to high, max, on, etc. Now honestly, in Dragon's Dogma 2 you probably want to max out the settings as much as possible and get your performance win by lowering the resolution. Speaking of which, let's talk about that quickly. So if you drop your resolution to 1440p or maybe 1800p, 3200 by 1800, I needed to add that resolution manually to my Windows configuration. At a lower resolution you can practically max out everything else. Just leave subsurface scattering off, you'll never notice that one when it's gone, but you will notice the performance gain. So in my 1440p benchmark at the start of the video, I had shadow quality on max, grass tree quality on high, texture filtering on anisotropic 16 times and mesh quality on max, and I still had a higher FPS than at 4K with lower settings. And then one last quick thing, nowadays with Nvidia you can choose whether to use the CNN model or the transformer model for your DLSS. And sadly, the transformer model has absolutely nothing to do with Optimus Prime or Megatron. But well, I tried both models briefly and the CNN model actually performed 7 to 8% better, and I didn't really notice any visual difference, so just leave it in the normal old CNN model. So that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. Now if you enjoyed it, please leave a like and consider subscribing. I'm planning on separating my optimized settings and my setting deep dive videos in the future. This all in a way to try and keep my viewer retention higher throughout the videos. Anyways, also check out my video where I go completely nuts on comparing all those individual settings of Dragon's Dogma 2, or watch the video where I show you how I actually play Dragon's Dogma myself, comparing the vanilla game to the game running with RE Framework mod and a graphics suite mod. Thank you for watching, and if you liked this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. Abonneren, that's for the Dutch viewers. Houdoe!